Our story opens with a haunting flashback, a horde of vampires attacking a peaceful village. We witness young Xiaoxin hiding with her siblings as their mother desperately tries to protect them. Tragically, the vampires break into their home and kill her parents while Xiaoxin watches helplessly from her hiding place. Fast forward to the present day, and we see that Xiaoxin has grown up carrying this traumatic memory. She's now a student trying to live a normal life despite the world being ruled by vampires. The drama begins when Xiaoxin is asked to deliver papers to another classroom. Inside, she encounters Roy, the vampire prince. He invites her in, but her instinctive fear makes her flee. Roy catches her easily and throws her to the ground, preparing to drink her blood as his eyes turn crimson red. This sight triggers Xiaoxin's childhood trauma. In a burst of desperate strength, she scratches Roy's face, drawing blood. Humiliated in front of the other students, Roy declares her his enemy and publicly marks her as a target. Roy isn't just a cruel vampire prince. He has his own painful history. We learn that he once had a human blood slave named Flay, who promised never to leave him. However, one day she disappeared, and his brother informed him that she had abandoned him forever. This betrayal shaped Roy's hatred for humans, whom he now views as inherently deceitful creatures. Following her confrontation with Roy, Xiaoxin becomes a target for other students who want to curry favor with the vampire prince. A group of girls brutally beats her for daring to oppose Roy. When she tries to escape, male students also pursue her. Desperate and alone, Xiaoxin finds no one willing to help her. Her situation worsens when a girl deliberately trips her with an umbrella, sending her tumbling down the stairs. She hits her head and loses consciousness, blood pooling around her. Roy's friend informs him that Xiaoxin was injured and that Maya took her away. The mention of Maya's name clearly shocks Roy. We discover that Maya has taken the unconscious Xiaoxin to an isolated location and handed her over to 3 dangerous individuals with malicious intentions. Just as they're about to assault Xiaoxin, Roy arrives and intervenes, sending the attackers fleeing. When confronted, Maya claims she was trying to make Roy happy, but he angrily tells her to leave his sight. Despite declaring Xiaoxin his enemy, Roy takes her to his palace and orders his servants to care for her. His brother questions this decision, pointing out the contradiction in Roy's actions. Why save someone he'd put in danger in the first place? Roy has no answer and refuses to explain his conflicting feelings. When Xiaoxin regains consciousness, she immediately tries to escape through the window. Her flight through the grounds attracts a murder of crows, and she loses her footing, falling from a great height. Roy catches her, but the tree branch they land on breaks, sending them both crashing down. Though injured himself, Roy protects Xiaoxin from the fall. In his wounded state, he warns her to run away because he might not be able to control his bloodthirst. Surprisingly, Xiaoxin refuses to flee, saying she doesn't want to owe a vampire any favors and actually offers her blood to settle the debt. Roy finds her behavior puzzling. She'd previously fought desperately to save her life, yet now she's willingly offering it. He comes close, but ultimately doesn't bite her. When Xiaoxin asks why, Roy claims he prefers tormenting her with a favor she owes him rather than simply drinking her blood. Roy's brother observes this intimate moment and quietly retreats. When Xiaoxin tries to return home, Roy stops her, explaining that they're in an enchanted forest from which ordinary humans cannot escape alive. He takes her hand to guide her through the dangerous woodland. Xiaoxin pulls free and attempts to run, but she becomes lost and disoriented. She encounters Roy's brother, who accuses her of befriending vampires. The stress causes her to faint, and she awakens back in the palace room, this time with the windows sealed shut. Xiaoxin begs to go home, but Roy presents her with a cruel choice: become his blood slave, or he'll make her brother his blood slave instead. With this threat hanging over her, Roy leaves her to consider her options. We learn about Xiaoxin's motivation. Her younger brother Sealing suffers from a serious heart condition. This is why she attends the vampire school in the first place, likely seeking resources or opportunities to help him. Sealing waits for his sister when a girl informs him that Roy has taken Xiaoxin away. Back at the palace, servants inform Roy that Xiaoxin hasn't eaten in 2 days. When he visits her, she expresses her desperate wish to go home, if only for 1 day. At that moment, a servant announces that her brother has come to the palace. Xiaoxin panics upon hearing this news. Roy mockingly asks why she's worried since she wanted to see her family. Remembering the forest's enchantment and Roy's unpredictable nature, Xiaoxin asks to hide behind a curtain to observe the meeting. Roy invites Sealing inside and asks why he's come. In a heartbreaking scene, Sealing falls to his knees and begs Roy to release his sister, offering himself in her place. The emotional stress triggers his heart condition, and he collapses, struggling to breathe. Xiaoxin rushes to her brother's side, while Roy calls for a doctor. The physician confirms that Sealing's condition has stabilized, but requires immediate hospitalization. Roy arranges for his admission, and the emotional toll causes Xiaoxin to faint as well. When Xiaoxin regains consciousness, Roy informs her that Sealing is safely hospitalized. He brings her porridge, but her hands tremble so badly she can't feed herself. In a surprisingly gentle gesture, Roy takes the spoon and feeds her with unexpected tenderness. Xiaoxin visits her brother in the hospital, where Sealing apologizes for causing her suffering. She embraces him, insisting that none of this is his fault and that they'll face whatever comes together. From outside the room, Roy watches and finds himself genuinely happy to see Xiaoxin smile. Walking home together, Xiaoxin tells Roy that she won't try to escape anymore and agrees to become his blood slave to protect her brother. Roy is pleased by her acceptance of the arrangement. The next day at school, Xiaoxin faces harassment from other girls, but she fights back this time. However, she's outnumbered until a student named Sanai intervenes, causing the bullies to flee. When Xiaoxin asks why he helped her, Sanai simply says he wants to assist her and asks to walk with her. Roy witnesses this interaction and immediately approaches, taking Xiaoxin's hand and leading her away. Back at the palace, he throws her onto the bed and prepares to drink her blood, but stops when he notices a wound on her cheek. When Roy asks about the injury, Xiaoxin explains that everyone at school targets her because of him. This answer displeases Roy, who orders her to remove her clothes so he can feed. As Xiaoxin begins to undress, clearly distressed, Roy seems to enjoy her discomfort but stops her midway. He then establishes a new rule. She's forbidden from being seen with any other boys. The next day, when Xiaoxin tries to avoid Sanai, he stops her by grabbing her hand. He asks if Roy has harmed her, but she doesn't answer and tells him to stay away. However, Sanai notices bite marks on her neck before she hurries away. That evening at the palace, Roy pulls Xiaoxin into his arms and reminds her that he's her master and can do whatever he wants with her. He takes her outside and begins teaching her to dance, complimenting her natural grace. Xiaoxin mentions that her parents used to dance together like this. Roy then informs her about an upcoming vampire ball where they must dance together. The mention of other vampires terrifies Xiaoxin, and she flees to a fountain in the palace gardens. At the fountain, Xiaoxin encounters Roy's older brother, who touches her hair and remarks that she resembles someone named Flay. He pushes her into the fountain and reveals that Roy only likes her because of this resemblance. He warns her to stay away from Roy. Xiaoxin insists she has no desire to get close to any vampire. At that moment, Roy arrives and confronts his brother, pulling Xiaoxin from the fountain. Despite her confusion about Roy's kindness, he asks her to practice dancing in her room for the upcoming ball. The next day at school, Xiaoxin receives an urgent phone call informing her that her brother's condition has worsened and she needs to rush to the hospital. However, she doesn't have permission to leave school grounds. When Xiaoxin explains her situation, the school officials refuse to help. Sanai appears and offers assistance, leading her to a secluded area. He tells her that if she can steal Roy's noble badge and show it to the authorities, they'll let her leave. Xiaoxin initially wants to ask Roy directly for the badge rather than steal it, hoping he'll help her. However, Sanai warns that if Roy refuses, she won't be able to see her brother. When Xiaoxin approaches the palace, she sees Roy and considers asking for his help. She believes he might refuse since she's just a toy to him. When she tries to inform Roy about her brother's emergency, a servant interrupts, saying Roy is late for a meeting. Roy leaves without fully listening to her explanation. Left with no choice, Xiaoxin breaks into the palace and steals the badge. On her way out, she meets Sanai, who offers to accompany her to the hospital. Outside the school, Sanai becomes suspicious that they're being followed and decides to stay behind to deal with their pursuers, telling Xiaoxin to go to the hospital alone. At the hospital, Xiaoxin discovers that her brother is perfectly fine. There was no emergency. She hugs Sealing in relief, but then realizes the badge is missing from her pocket. Searching for it on her way back, she begins to suspect that someone used her to steal Roy's badge, with Sanai being the prime suspect. At that moment, Roy appears, asking why she's out of school so late at night. Xiaoxin confesses that she stole his badge to visit her brother, but has now lost it. When Roy asks who told her to steal it, he sends servants to find the badge and investigate Sanai. As punishment, Roy begins drinking Xiaoxin's blood with obvious pleasure. Despite her pleas for him to stop, he continues with evident enjoyment. In her desperation, Xiaoxin asks if she's nothing more than a blood servant whom he'll discard when he grows bored. This question seems to affect Roy, and Xiaoxin faints from blood loss. Roy catches her in his arms. After 2 days of unconsciousness, Xiaoxin awakens and searches for Roy in the palace. She overhears maids discussing how other vampires will mock Roy for losing his badge, and that without it, he won't even be able to enter the upcoming ball. Realizing that Roy is in serious trouble because of her actions, Xiaoxin decides to rush to the ball to help him. On her way, she encounters Roy's friend Sin, who immediately understands her intention to help Roy. Sin offers Xiaoxin a ride and explains the importance of the noble vampire ball to Roy. He also mentions that it's crucial for Roy's blood servant to look presentable at such events. At the ball, Roy is indeed denied entry due to his missing badge, and other vampires mock him publicly. Just when his humiliation seems complete, Sin arrives with Xiaoxin, now elegantly dressed and prepared to help restore Roy's honor. The episode ends on this dramatic note, with Xiaoxin's arrival at the ball potentially changing everything for Roy. Her transformation from a frightened schoolgirl to someone willing to risk everything to help the vampire prince she once feared marks a significant turning point in their relationship. That's where we end this part of our recap. If you're enjoying this vampire romance series and want to see what happens next, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more episode recaps. We'll see you in the next one.